Hello and welcome to Tonic Studios. I'm Leo and I'm here today to show you the Golden Sunrise Stamp Club. So I have really enjoyed playing with this stamp club this month. There's a lot of really cute little sentiments and things in here. Let me just pop the stamps down here so you can have a quick look. It kind of definitely gives me Holland feels. I'm seeing tulip feels in this, like these. You can probably just about see this stamp here is meant to be a field in perspective, but they actually are shaped like little tulips as well. So it's going to be a really nice little piece for you to use. Of course, you've got a classic little windmill in here. You've got a rainbow, some sunflowers. This could be wheat or it could be lavender, I guess, depending on how you colour it. Lots of lovely sentiment as well. You are a ray of sunshine, another trip around the sun. May all your days be sunny, sending you smiles, wishing you a perfect day. So lots of lovely little sentiments in here. And of course, you're coordinating dies as well. So you've got dies that will cut out the majority of your images on here. You've got this lovely sunburst panel up here that is actually split, so you can use it in two different ways. This is a lovely little die. If I just hold this one up here for you, this one almost looks like a little row of lavender sprigs or something along those lines. It's a really lovely little stamp. A die, it's not a stamp at all, is it? It's a die, obviously. But I can just see this cut multiple times and layered up across the card. It would be a really nice little effect on there. And then we have these couple of pieces here. So you have this one that's going to give you like a hill. And then you have this, which is like a river running up. Again,
I saw a road.
It could be a road, it could be a river. Yeah, lots of different options with that. And you even have a little pair of ducks on the stamps just here, and there is a die to cut them out as well. So you could put them on the river or on the road. I mean, the ducks could be swimming along the road as well, I suppose, depending on how heavy it's been raining, maybe. So I have made a very simple-ish kind of card with this. I have made a little acetate front domed card with this one. And I'm going to show you how I have put this together and how I lined up my completely open aperture in the back as well. So let me pull in some of my pieces. I'm going to pop these over to one side for a second. The main pieces that I need are here. Ooh, so I have a piece of acetate. And I'm going to have to remember how big I measured this. I prepped this a little while ago and I've definitely slept since then. So I do honestly have a piece of acetate here. I know that it's very hard to see this on top of my glass mat, but I have a piece of acetate and this is sized for an A2 size card blank, if I remember rightly. So what I did is I measured this. So this is an A2 size panel. And this is the right height for this, and it's also the same width rate. So that's going to give us the dome, because I've made this wider than the actual card blank is. Obviously, once we glue this around the back, that's going to give us our dome. And I've just scored it down the edges to fold around the back. I've cut myself a panel in this lovely cornflower blue, and I've cut a couple of pieces already. So I've cut my sunburst pattern. This is into marigold yellow, I think it had to be a nice bright colour for this one, and a piece for the back as well. And I have cut a little white mat that is going to sit into there. So I'm actually going to glue that first because I want my glue to dry a little bit before we start die cutting. So pop some, not too much, but what I would say with this, because we are going to be cutting out the centre, you want to make sure that you do have glue across the middle as well, so that the layers are still going to stay together once you cut the centre part out of it. And I've sized this so it just fits inside the deboss line. So where your metal will sit for your sort of outside edge here, you'll get that kind of square line, and I just sized my white panel to sit right inside of that. And this is going to be for the back of the card. So like I say, I'm going to pop that to one side to dry just for a moment while I start cutting the circles into my card. So I had a little bit of a tip for this. I'm going to take my blue panel, I'm going to take my sunburst I've already cut. So I cut this just using the dies that are in the sunburst section. Obviously in pieces I did the outer edge, then I cut the rays in, and then I cut my circle into the middle. I'm going to lay this onto my card front where I'm going to want it to be, so I can make sure I've got it nicely lined up. I'm going to take my circle die, if I can grab this off one-handed, and pop it exactly where that circle actually is on there, so I know exactly where I want that to go. And I actually need a pencil, and I didn't bring a pencil with me. This is going to be fun. Okay.
I've got you covered.
Have you?
Hold that thought.
I thought I had everything in my prep pack. No. I guess I didn't.
No, in true learning from this place, Crafty style, I have a pencil case.
Yay.
So I got a choice of two for you.
Oh, I like this.
So you can either have a mechanical pencil or a superhero pencil.
Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Mechanical will do. Thank you very much, Mr. Alex. So, making sure my sunburst is lined up. My die is now sat into the circle in there. I'm going to draw myself just a very faint little pencil line. You don't need to go all the way around, just as long as you can see some of it. Take this out of the way, and then you can hopefully just about see my pencil line on there. Put the die back over the top. Grab some second-hand low-tack tape from your tangerine and stick down your circle. And then I'm going to just run that through the tangerine. This is a bit when you start playing like elevator music or something. Or this is,
I was going to sing something, but then I wouldn't know where to start. I'll put some in.
The classic tune. Like there is a classic bit of elevator music that every film ever uses for awkward elevator scenes, right?
I'm sure I've already found, and am playing, because we are talking in the past, some royalty-free lift music.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
As we're going.
I should have said lift. I don't know why elevator came out of me.
Well, it's because we don't have lift music in this country, do we?
No, we don't.
We just have awkward silence.
We just have awkward silence. That's how we roll. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this. I am going to lay this onto my card, make sure that I have a nice border around the edge, exactly where I want it. I'm going to lay my little starburst back over the top as my measuring guide and line that up. Crack my die back out. Take the tape off because you don't want to tape it down yet, because otherwise you'll have all of the bits underneath it. You don't want that. This is where it helps to have 6 hands. Put my die back into the center, and again just give myself a couple of little lines to work with. And it doesn't matter with this because this is the part that you're cutting out, so you're not ever going to see those pencil lines. Take all of the bits away that we don't need. Put that down. Go over the top.
Can I ask a question? Why are you not using it? Why did you not use it to cut all 3 at the same time?
You don't want to cut too many layers of card at once because you'll start to squash it.
Right. Or you get a little tear edge around the outside.
Yeah, exactly. Like this one is only 2 layers, so this one will be nice and easy to go through. That won't be a problem. It's only classic, so a lighter weight cardstock. But if you try to do 3, you might not get a clean edge on one of them. So I would recommend, especially the blue layer, because you do see that a bit more.
Take your time a little bit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right, lift music back on.
Lift music back on, yeah.
You're making this a very hard edit for me to make sure you're dancing in time. As if I take that kit.
I like to make you work for your money, you know?
Yeah, so does Simon.
Yes.
And doesn't he just?
Doesn't he just? Okay. Boop. Boop goes my layer. Let's grab that back out of the way. So peel off your low tack. We probably need some new low tack down here. This second-hand piece is definitely
very, very low tack.
Yeah, on its last legs, shall we say. There we go. So that's the basic construction pieces for my card completed. So I now have my blue base that's going to sit in the middle. I've got my sunburst for the front and my back panel. So this is the bit that you're going to write on for your card. You're going to put a message on there. Probably you're going to want to write your message before you assemble the card, because I imagine trying to write on a card that rocks is not going to be the easiest thing to do. So that would be my top tip on that one.
Gives you the opportunity to use some stamp sentiments if you wanted to as well. Then.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. You could absolutely pop some of those on. I didn't because I didn't. Yes.
Not working hard enough for your money.
Clearly not, no. The last bit I am going to do is pop out. So I have shimmered a piece of paper using a shimmer powder that I'm not going to name. And I'm just going to cut
Is that because you can't remember it?
Nope. It's for another reason. I'm not going to name it. I'll let you figure that out in the comments for yourself as to why I might not be naming.
I hope you haven't used someone else's.
Would I ever?
Look at that face.
How dare you? As if. But as you can see, it's this beautiful kind of corally. You've got like a yellow and pink split in there. So I think for behind a sunburst, I think it's a perfect colour. So yeah, lift music, activate.
Quite looking forward to editing this one though.
Yeah. Don't you look forward to editing all of our videos?
Yes.
There's with a grimace.
There's less bloopers on a single person video.
This is very true. Until I go, so what do I do next?
Yeah.
How did I make this? That's really
yeah.
Classic. Yeah.
And even less so without Karen involved.
You're casting a lot of aspersions today.
No, I'm not.
She's not here to defend herself.
Or hit me.
Or hit you. Yeah, exactly. Okay, there we go. Last little piece. So that is going to sit behind my sunburst. Oh, it's not the last piece, is it? What else do I need to do to that, Alex?
Cut a hole in it.
Cut a hole in it. See, look, I make these things weeks ahead of time and then forget what I've done. And what you all can't see off camera is he's now checking his watch as if I'm, taking too much time. I'm sure he's actually reading a message, but I'm taking it as if he's like,
yeah. Come on, wrap up.
Let's go. So
not at all.
I'm only teasing.
Yeah, unless you are sick of hearing a Leo, then just let us know in the comments.
Yeah, feel free to just fast forward this.
I don't think mean people on the internet don't need permission, do they?
No, this is true. Okay, line that back up. So exactly the same as I did already twice. I'm going to cut another hole in this. For some reason, I thought it would be a really good idea to have that, sun dye completely free in the middle of my card. So I had to make sure that the hole lined up the entire way through.
Yeah.
I like to make my life difficult, what can I say?
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? I have these, flashes of brilliance when I sit down and look at a die set. I'm like, oh, what can I do with this? It's going to look really nice. And then I actually have to make it, and then I have to make it again on camera. Okay. That should be my last circle. But I...
Fingers crossed.
reserve the right for it not to be if I've forgotten something else, yes. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to layer up these two. I'm going to switch glue. Let's get some precision glue up in here. Now that we can use it. Oh, I love that we can use these down here finally. Oh, no, this is the wrong one. Never mind, I will not use the precision glue because I've brought the wrong one with me. It's the one with the old tip that doesn't work. Okay, so this is the problem you see when we get products upstairs that we can test. So Richard, our lovely engineer, is like, oh, I've designed this. Can you test it and see how it works? So we put things through their paces. So when we were testing out the precision tips, we tried a couple of different versions that were attached in different ways. And they had different adhesives holding the nibs into them. And apparently one of them is still floating around that we failed because we said that it didn't work. And that's the one that I've managed to bring downstairs with me. So, whoopsie, never mind. I can still do this with the original nozzle, just about. So in theory, if I have cut this correctly, this should perfectly line up What do we reckon? Did I cut it perfectly?
I think so.
Yeah?
I got faith in you.
I'm glad someone does. I don't always. So, panels done. Next, I am going to assemble all of the blue layer. So in this, I've got obviously my sunburst in the background. I've got a couple of little clouds in there. I need to put all of those pieces together before I then wrap the dome around it. So what I decided to do, this was a technical decision. I decided to use the back side of my classic card, so the non-textured side, as the inside, because you're not going to see that as much as you're going to see the outside, if that makes sense. I'm going to bring in my two little sunburst pieces that I have cut, again from Marigold cardstock. And of course, we're going to use some red line tape and fishing line to suspend this in the middle of the card. So, a little bit of this. And this is all going to get hidden under your layers, so you're not going to see any of this. Just make sure you don't put your red line tape too high up, because obviously this panel doesn't reach right to the very edge of your card. So make sure you bring your red line tape just a little bit in from the edge. But I would recommend not putting it too close to the circle cutout either, because the more sort of space that you have here, there's more glue and everything holding the fishing line in place then as well. So whip the first bit off. And I'm going to lay my little sun in the middle and put a bit of tape in the centre of that as well. Again, you know, I make these things and I think, yeah, that looks really pretty. And then I have to remake it and remember the exact order that this goes together so that it all works.
Do you not make notes?
Sometimes, but apparently I didn't with this one. So this is just a from memory.
Well, you're doing really well.
Thank you.
I would have forgotten this by now. I'd have to make notes for everything.
So a bit of fishing line. Pop it into your red liner tape first. And then make sure your sun is nicely centered. And I'm going to try and make sure that I go from kind of sun ray to sun ray so that the fishing line is as hidden as possible. So hold that taut and then poke it into the red line tape and then peel this bit off the bottom. So this is the technical bit. This is the bit that if anything was going to go wrong, I shouldn't say that. Should not say that. That was a Hagrid moment, wasn't it? Should not have said that. Okay. I'm going to pop some glue onto my second sun. And again, this extra glue, as well as holding the two suns together, it adds a little bit more adhesive to your fishing line. So just line that up. Doesn't matter that I've got glue over tape either. Sometimes it helps, you kind of get an instant bond from the tape and then the glue will settle in and glue those two layers together for you. Just give that a second to glue, and then I'm going to glue my panel into my card. Sometimes when that light flickers, I start to think, has something happened? You know, is that like a random flash of lightning? But no, it's just a light flickering. I don't know why I would think that it would be a random flash of lightning in a room with no windows.
No windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're hoping it's not the lights going off because something. If the lights start to flicker because something's happened, it could be something terrible.
Yeah.
We might walk out to it being like the first scene of Walking Dead or something.
Don't open dead outside, or don't dead open outside, depending on how you read that. Okay, so there is my little sun nicely encapsulated in the front of my card, like so, and there's all of that shimmer in the background. And now it's a question of decorating the inside part. You probably want to do this at this point because it's going to be very difficult to get back to this once you've put the dome on the outside. So there's a couple of other pieces that I have cut. I've got the little sort of pinwheel piece from the center of the sun, and I'm going to pop this on with a foam pad just in here, right in the very middle of my sunshine. I've also got a couple of little clouds. I stamped these onto vellum. This was just using Metro Grey ink, so you can stamp onto vellum with our hybrid inks. What I would recommend is you do just give them plenty of time to dry. So stamp it. I would definitely recommend using our stamping platform for this. I like to put a piece of media grip into the base as well because it will hold the vellum still. Because it's not a porous surface, the ink is going to sit on the top rather than actually soaking into the paper. So it will take that a little bit longer to dry, and it does have the tendency to kind of slip a little bit. So you might find if you're trying to stamp with a stamp block that as you press down it kind of slides, which is why I would say the platform is the better option for this. And I'm going to do a little bit of something that we say never to do, but this is literally just for speed, and I'm going to cut both of these at the same time. Don't tell me off, Alex. It's very naughty. Definitely a do as I say, not as I do at this point.
But there's years of crafting skill going into...
Exactly. And I've stamped them very far apart, so there is, you know, no chance of my die slipping. Well, very little chance. But we don't recommend that you do this, because if your dies for any reason do slip and cross as you are running them through, there is a very high chance that they will be unusable. So yeah, definitely don't do this. Elevator music, yeah.
To cover up the noise coming. And it's mad because the noises that come from your tangerine are all normal.
Yes.
But they're not satisfying noises to me. I mean, you might think differently because you know, as a crafter who uses it regularly.
I think vellum makes a very different kind of noise though, because it's stiff, so it doesn't bend in the same way that normal cardstock does as it's going through. So it kind of gives that crackly, crunchy kind of sound. It is definitely a very odd noise. But yes, I didn't cross my dies, we're all good. So I'm going to pop my clouds into the background. What else did I put in here? The rainbow. Yes, of course I did. So I'm just going to pop a couple of these little clouds into the background. Now with vellum, obviously where you put adhesive, you generally will see those marks. So I do try and hide it behind where I have stamped a little bit. But since this is in the background of the card, hopefully it won't be too obvious to us. And for the front, I've done something a little bit different. So
a quick question from me.
Okay.
What if we were to use Karen's favourite, the adhesive sheet?
Yep, exactly. That's what I've done for the ones that I've put onto the front.
Oh, sorry, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert indeed. Because that is a whole piece of adhesive and it's all the way across, you're not going to see it in the same way. But if you are gluing vellum, if you don't want to use an adhesive sheet or you don't have access to it, try and hide your glue under something. So if you're layering something on top of the vellum, think a bit about where that layer on top is going to go and put the glue onto your vellum in that area. What I have then done, I have stamped and coloured the rainbow piece. Now I decided to colour in pencils, in our watercolour pencils, for the pieces on this card. I know that's very unusual for me. I'm normally an alcohol marker kind of girl, but I thought for a bit of a change I would go with pencils this time. And I just did a very light, especially for the rainbow, just a very light little pencil mark of the colours in there. And I had one of our water brushes just with some plain water in there, just to kind of blend the colour out to make my rainbow. I'm just going to make sure that has glued nicely onto there. Give it a couple of seconds. Okay, so that is the background piece done. And the next step is to assemble some of the front piece that goes onto the acetate. So I'm going to pop this to one side while I look at that. So I'm going to bring back in my acetate sheet. Now this is going to start to be really difficult for you to see because it's obviously completely see-through. But trust me, it is definitely there. I've cut the little hill piece. So that is this die here. and it actually has these notches at the side. These are to help you size it for your card front, so you'll find that it will line up edge to edge with your card for an A2 size card, so you can use those as alignments. And this is how I decided to do the width of my acetate piece as the height of an A2 card. I've cut it into these two pieces of green cards. So I have one in avocado and one, I think this is grass green, I want to say. And I actually have the double-sided adhesive on the back already. But I have left them in the card for the moment because I just want to snip them off because this doesn't cut right to the very edge. So just using my scissors, I am just going to take a nice straight line up to the edge of that die just to free it. And then exactly the same on the other side. And this is why I like to use big scissors for things like this, because you're doing one cut, so in theory it should be a straight line. And then I'm going to have a look and see how high up I want this to be on my card front. I think that's possibly a little bit high, so I'm going to snip that down. Let's just cut this one out first. Yep, I did get it. And the same on this side. And the reason I've gone for double-sided adhesive on the back of these, because these are going to be going around a curved front, the more adhesive that you have, the more contact you have, the better, and hopefully it shouldn't peel off the front of your card. So I'm going to just run my scissors again straight across the bottom, just take a little bit more off this just to bring it down. Obviously you could use guillotine or a trimmer for this, but for speed I'm just going in with some big scissors, and I want to make sure that my lighter green layer just sits below that, so I'm going to do exactly the same and just run along the bottom of here. Okay, so that's all my pieces chopped down. I'm going to put down my darker green piece first. So just peel up the edge of your adhesive sheet. And I want to line this up to the very bottom piece of the acetate that I promise is here, and make sure that it fits between the two score lines as well. So I'm going to start in one corner and go from there. There we go. And make sure that is nicely adhered all the way across the back. And then I'm going to stick the paler piece over the top. So hopefully now you can see. And I've started to got some things on here. Do exactly the same. I'm going to pop this over the top, making sure that it's lined up with the bottom and those two score lines, and then just smooth over it just to make sure that all of that adhesive has got contact on there. So the next thing then is I'm going to put the acetate around my card front. So I'm just going to help this by giving it a little bit of a curve. Because it is acetate, I don't want to run a tool over this or anything. I don't want to scratch the actual acetate. But just by manipulating it a little bit with your fingers, especially now that we've stuck these two pieces of card on, that should help. And then fold back score lines as well on both sides. I'm going to stick this on again with red line tape. You get that nice instant bond. You don't have to hold it in place waiting for the glue to dry, which with acetate is going to be a lot longer than you anticipate. So this would definitely be my recommendation for this. You can do a bit of both as well if you want to do red line for immediate grab and then a stripe of glue next to it for longevity. That is also an option. And I'm going to recommend that because we all know Al says no tape. So one side done, just going to do the other one. I'm putting the tape along the free edge of the acetate because this is going to be hidden under the layer that we're putting on the back. So you shouldn't see that adhesive down the edge, hopefully. So just something to bear in mind, obviously, because you are using acetate that is completely see-through. You need to be aware of what's going to be visible and what isn't on your finished card. So find the edge of your red line tape, peel that off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this down and bring my card center into it. So I'm going to put this right into the score line, making sure that it's nicely lined up top to bottom, and then press it down onto that strip of tape that I've got on there. Make sure that is well stuck so you can see it's straight up here. I've got that nice strip of red line tape that is going to be well hidden under this once we put it on. And then I'm going to wrap the acetate around the front and glue it onto the other side. And this is where you're probably going to need to give it a little bit of encouragement to get it to dome nicely. So I'm going to pull this in and try and sit my card again into that score line. And once I'm happy that I've got it there, this is where I could really use, you know, the 5th or 6th hand probably. But there we go, we got it. Pull it into there and make sure that is nicely stuck. You can tell, it's one of the nice things about acetate, because you can actually see through it, you can see if there are any areas where the tape hasn't quite grabbed the card. So that is the basic construction of our card, and now it's just a question of decorating it. So again, I have a couple more clouds that I have stamped onto vellum, and this time I do have the double-sided adhesive on the back. You're getting much better at crafting because you're already thinking these things ahead of time. So,
well, I am learning from the best.
Well, I don't know that.
And you.
And me. Yeah. Yeah. Should have guessed that was coming. Should have guessed. So quickly cut these out as well. Again, do as I say, not as I do. Do them individually, not all together. Because I do have that double-sided adhesive on the back, these are going to stick nicely. Again, you're sticking these clouds onto a curved surface and they're in vellum, so you definitely don't want to have to try and hold them for the glue to grab between vellum and acetate, because vellum is non-porous, acetate is non-porous. They're just going to want to slide off each other at that point. So the double-sided adhesive is definitely going to help with that. It's
going to cause you more stress.
Yes.
Than it's worth.
It is, absolutely.
Particularly when there's a solution out there.
And double-sided adhesive is amazing stuff. Like, we use it all the time for really intricate die cuts, especially if we are building boxes that have curved elements, because you do have that kind of entire, you know, adhesive back to it. You just know that it's going to stick without a problem. So 2 little clouds. And you can start to build this up as a bit of a scene at this point. So you can have a think about how you want it to look from the front, what you're going to be able to see, the different layers that you've got in here. So I'm going to pop this little cloud roughly where that rainbow ends. So it looks like it's going between the 2 clouds. And you can see where I've put that on, you actually can't see the adhesive on the back because it goes all the way across, so it doesn't have that sort of differentiation, which is why you can see adhesive through vellum, because you can see the difference, if you like.
Darker spots and...
Exactly. Let me balance this out. What else have we got to go on the front? Windmill. Yeah, let's pop this down here. So clouds are on, and then I have a couple of other little elements that I've stamped. So I've got some of these teeny tiny little trees. So I think this stamp set really is playing with perspective quite a lot, because I've got this windmill and these sunflowers that obviously are basically the same height. I mean, you can get very tall sunflowers, but possibly not that tall. So it might be worth having a think about, you know, when you're layering up your scene, how you want these to look. And for these smaller pieces, again, I have stamped them and then coloured them just with watercolour pencils and then gone over them with my watercolour brush or my water brush just to blend them out slightly. And I'm sticking these on just with regular glue this time. So it's going to stick better onto the classic card than it is onto the acetate. Like I said, because your acetate is a non-porous surface, the glue will just sit on the surface until it's dried. So concentrate on getting it stuck to the card first. And then I'm going to pop my, can I get myself a tiny bit of foam pad small enough? Let's see. I'm going to pop my windmill on with a foam pad. And we've got this raggedy piece. Look at the state of this that we've kept down here. Let me just tidy this up a little bit. There we go. That looks neater, doesn't it? There we go. I have a little piece of foam pad like this. I'm going to cut myself the smallest little square just to go on the back. And all I can see is the shimmer powder that has come off all over my fingers. So if you do want to set your shimmer powder and not have sparkly fingers, the very basic of basic hairspray is probably going to be your friend there. So the one that comes in like the basics ranges, nothing with a conditioner or anything like that in it. You just want a really simple one and just give it a light misting over your shimmer powder once it has dried, and that will help contain some, probably not all, but certainly some of the shimmer. But yeah, I am very, very sparkly. Okay, and pop some trees in the background.
Do you know what? Looking at that, I thought it might have been a sheep.
I guess it could be if you wanted to. If you snipped them carefully, you probably could make them into some little sheep in the background.
You can just paint the pink little nose.
Yeah.
On one of those, on that higher tree.
Yeah, if you cut that tree off, so you just had that one, you could maybe cut the legs off, or the trunks off the trees and move them at the bottom to the.
Well, I think it looks like a sheep that way. So you've got the back end being the smaller tree.
I see. Like now that I'm looking at it from there, so it already has two legs. That's its head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Could be sheep. Could be the Welsh countryside. It's not Holland at all.
No.
We've been duped. I do love the fact that all of these pieces are slightly different sizes, so you can stagger them on the hills though.
Yeah.
You can play with perspective quite nicely with this, I think. Because yeah, these sunflowers are either very close to you or monstrous. I'd be impressed though if anyone had grown a sunflower as tall as a windmill. Well, I did see there was a thing, you know, like on your phone when you swipe that way from your home screen. I got like Google News.
Yeah.
And for some reason it thought I would like to hear about a guy that had grown a very tall sunflower, and he's literally built like a scaffold around it to
keep it straight.
Upright. Yeah. But that is quite tall. Probably not as tall as a windmill though.
No. I do find sunflowers quite intimidating.
Yeah.
Because they're massive.
They are.
And because they move as well. With the sun.
Kind of sway, don't they? And they turn, yeah, they do.
And move towards the sun. They've always given me a really uneasy feeling.
I love the fact they turn though. I think it's very cool. We've got a couple of plants at home, and the tag on them confused me when I first bought it because they're called living plants. I'm like, well, surely aren't all plants living? Otherwise, you know.
Oh, we bought some unliving plants in IKEA on
I've
the
got
weekend.
Some unliving plants as well. But yeah, these are specifically labelled as living plants, but they are prayer plants. So basically, as they get into the evening, they kind of curl their leaves up together, so it looks like a pair of hands praying. But they, every now and again, as we're watching TV, I just see like a flutter of movement out of the corner of my eye where the leaves have moved and kind of rubbed against each other, and then they've knocked them all. And I'm like, what was that? Just this random plant moving in my house.
My nephews used to have a Venus flytrap, and that was quite bizarre.
I bet
to watch.
I think we had one once where we tried to feed it and then we killed it.
Yeah, I mean they probably shouldn't have been doing this, but they were like putting pencils and stuff in it to get it to close its chops,
trying to trigger the mechanism. mechanism, like that's what it is. But yes, it just has like does it have little hairs or something inside it that it can feel when something?
I think so.
there.
Yeah.
Very clever.
And then you hear about the plants in the Amazon that can like dissolve humans. Like if you fall into it, it closes up around you.
Well, that's just scary. Remind me to cancel that holiday.
Yeah.
Fancy being dissolved by a plant. Like I would hope that it would knock you out so you wouldn't know that it was happening, but
Yeah, you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
probably not that lucky.
Don't you think there was an X-Files episode about something similar?
Probably. It sounds some fairly X-Files-y, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I won't go into detail on that now.
No, let's not. Okay, so I have added on some little trees in the background. I've got a couple of very definitely in the foreground sunflowers and my little windmill on there. I have stamped a sentiment. Again, I've done this on vellum with my double-sided adhesive on the back, and I'm just going to straight lines around the edge. Or you can purposely do it not straight like I did on the other one that I did.
Purposely.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. It was entirely intentional.
Yeah, that'll be my approach as well.
Yes.
Yeah, the card's not supposed to stand up. It's avant-garde.
Yes. It's, modern art in card form. No, I can't get this to peel off the back. This is possibly the hardest part.
Taking this sheet off.
Yeah, sometimes if you curl the corner over, there we go. The back is shorter then than the front. So you can grab the edge. There's a tip for you. So pop that up on there. Another trip around the sun. I think that's a nice way of saying, wow, you're really old. Another trip around the sun. Right, I'm going to finish this off by putting on, you could leave it at that point, write your card and then stick this on, if you were sensible enough to remember that writing on a domed card isn't the easiest of things to do. And definitely if you're going to stamp a sentiment on the back of here, now would be the time before you glue it together.
But for now, we're not writing, are we?
No.
We'll probably end up being someone in the office's birthday card.
Potentially. That is what happens to cards around here. Probably that's something that people would like to know. We don't ever waste cards that we have made.
No, there's a big box of them in one of the marketing offices that we dive into to get presents for people when it's their birthday, leaving, kids.
Yeah, we're very big on definitely birthdays around here. Everyone gets a cake.
Yeah, this is the only office I've ever worked in where you haven't got to bring your own treats in on your birthday, where your office does it for you. Yeah,
there's always a cake. Everyone comes to your office and sings to you. It is the most awkward 20 seconds of your life.
I love it.
Yeah, it is fun. Less fun when you're down here live and people decide to bring you a cake. But of course, as the song Happy Birthday is copyrighted,
I heard last week that apparently that's not the case.
Really?
That it's no longer under copyright.
Ooh. Well, whoever's birthday it is next, who is going to be live, look out.
Yes.
There we go. So I've added my last little pinwheel into the centre of my sun, and there is my finished little domed acetate card. Just like that.
Beautiful.
Super cute. Really quite easy to make as well. It probably looks quite intimidating, but it's not. That's the word I was looking for earlier. Intimidating. It's not intimidating. And that'll make a lot more sense when you see this outfit in a different video later.
Yeah, see, comment below if you've already seen that video. You should have, because I think it's out already.
Probably. I'm trying to think which order they come in. Yeah. Yes, I think that one does come before this. So
big clue. That one comes out on the 20th.
Yes. So yeah, when you see that video, intimidating is the word that I was looking for the entire hour and something minutes that we were filming and just wouldn't come to my head. But yes, hopefully this is not an intimidating card for you to try. This stamp club is available now, so go out and grab it if you haven't already. It is available on our website for you. There are lots of different ideas. I know Marina Cole's done an amazing video as well showing this off, so go and check that out too. Don't forget to tag us in your makes. I'd love to see what ideas you come up with this set. Are you going to play with perspective? Are you going to put the ducks on a road if that's what you want to do, let us know. Pop those into our Facebook group or tag us across social media at Tonic Studios or using #ShowTonic. Don't forget, if you are a Craft Kit subscriber, you do get your TCK code, your 10% discount across the store. That is automatically now applied for you at checkout as long as you are logged in. And talking of the checkout, you can also pay in installments using ShopPay, ClearPay and PayPal to spread the cost of that if you've added, one too many things to your basket, which is what I'm very good at doing. Thanks again for joining us, and I hope to see you again very soon. Happy crafting!